KSI versus Tommy Fury. A battle of cruiserweight supremacy and who is the best YouTube boxer? Who do I think is going to win? Who has the best chance of winning? Let's go ahead and find out. All right, so the first and most important thing I want to talk about is how does KSI like to get on the line? What is his most common source of offense? And so here we're going to see KSI kind of stalking down Joe Fournier. He has Joe Fournier in the corner. And one important thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that the speed difference between Joe Fournier and Tommy Fury is very significant. Okay, Joe Fournier is much slower than Tommy Fury, but we're going to see KSI take a step onto the line with the jab, but then he's going to explode into his right hand and land a body shot. All right. Now, one important thing I want you guys to keep in mind as well is that after KSI throws his right hand, look at where his hands are and look at where his head is. Okay. He's coming up, and this is the same problem that he had against FaZe Temper, as I pointed out in the previous breakdown that I did. He always pulls back up after he throws his right hand, and because this is his most common source of offense, this is a free follow-up right here. Tommy Fury will be able to follow up on KSI and land free punches, about 3 or 4 punches, for KSI just being in terrible position after throwing his right hand. Not to mention, like I said earlier, the speed difference between Joe Fournier and Tommy Fury is significant. And even Joe Fournier countered KSI a couple times after he threw this right hand. But because this is KSI's most common source of offense, this is going to make it extremely hard for KSI to land points without Tommy Fury also landing probably 3 times as many points as KSI will. All right, so here Tommy Fury is going to be demonstrating how he interacts with the right hand to get on the line, right? KSI likes to get on the line with the right hand. We're going to see how Tommy Fury reacts here. And so even before Jake Paul throws his right hand, he's just going to try and stand and look at Tommy Fury getting on the line with him. But because Jake Paul's hands are not guarding his face and he's just looking at Tommy Fury, it allows Tommy Fury to just snap into a jab. And that's Tommy Fury's best asset. It's his fast jab and ability to get on and off the line extremely quickly. All right. Tommy Fury doesn't have really good head movement. He can't really move his head when he's throwing punches, but he can get off the line pretty effectively. And we see here, Jake Paul gets hit to the face, but now Jake Paul is going to come back. He's going to throw this right hand to the body, right? This looks very similar to the right hand to the body that KSI landed earlier. And keep in mind, like I said, this is KSI's most common source of offense, throwing that right hand to the body or sometimes trying to throw it to the head. Right, and I'm going to show you guys KSI throwing a right hand to the head later because that right hand leaves him even more out of position than a right hand to the body, okay? So we're going to see Jake Paul throw that right hand, and he's going to pull straight back up, very similar to KSI. Now, what does Tommy Fury do after this? He's going to throw a jab, a 2, a 3. He's going to follow up with multiple punches. And while most of those punches were blocked, he was able to land that offense without Jake Paul being able to throw a counter on him. And this is very likely to happen against KSI too, because KSI is not a counterpuncher. KSI does not like long sequences. He does not like to get his feet planted on the ground and throw hard counter shots in between sequences. He likes to throw one punch and then get off the line. That is the type of fighter KSI is. And Tommy Fury is going to exploit that, I believe, in this fight. All right, another reason that I believe that KSI is going to have a lot of problems getting on the line with Tommy Fury is because Tommy Fury is extremely fast when it comes to getting off the line, and it's right. So here we're going to see Jake Paul throwing a right hand to the body, right? This is very KSI-esque. Now, KSI has a faster right hand to the body than Jake Paul, and he can get off the line quicker than Jake Paul with that right hand, but it's still the same motion. We're going to see Jake Paul trying to throw that right hand, and look at Tommy Fury just take a quick step off of the line, right? And he can even follow Jake Paul back up if he wanted to. But here we can see, obviously, that Tommy Fury has the speed to, if he can't stop KSI from hitting him with the body shot, he can at least take most of the blow out of it by just stepping off the line quickly. All right. And this is why I believe KSI is going to struggle extremely hard against Tommy Fury. Because if he can't get on the line with Tommy Fury, he won't be able to land any of the big, powerful shots that he wants to in order to knock out Tommy Fury. And if he doesn't knock out Tommy Fury, there's a high likelihood that he's going to lose to points on Tommy because Tommy likes to follow up in volume of punches, and KSI does not like to do that. He likes to throw 1 or 2 hard punches on the line and get off. We saw it in almost every single one of KSI's fights. So here we're going to be taking a look at what I believe is going to be the most common sequence between KSI and Tommy Fury here. And so we're going to take a look at KSI stepping onto the line with the jab, right? And now this jab is actually pretty decent in terms of him landing the shot alone. But we can clearly see that KSI isn't even looking at Joe Fournier right now as he throws the punch. So he has no idea what Joe Fournier is going to throw back. So if he throws this against Tommy Fury is most likely going to follow up on KSI and have KSI looking like Jake Paul, just trying to cover up and shelling up and getting hit on with volumes of punches. Will he knock out KSI? I don't believe so. Maybe he can clip KSI and knock him down one time. If KSI is staying like this, in position like this, and not looking at the punch. But I believe KSI is tough enough to stay in the fight and not get knocked out or stopped. But with that being said, we're going to see KSI take a step onto the line with that jab. He's going to come back off. And now look at the next punch he throws, right? We're going to see a right hand to the body, right? He loves this punch. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be the most common source of offense for him. And with that being said, he can get off the line fairly fast with the right hand, right? We see it right here. The only problem is when he tries to throw the right hand to his opponent's face instead of the body, right? We're going to see he's going to try and hit Joe Fournier to the head with an overhand, right? And look at the position he's in now. His rear foot is almost off the ground. He has to catch it. And as he's catching it, Joe Fournier is going to let off a couple of punches on him and follow him back. Now, like I said earlier, Joe Fournier, the speed difference between him and Tommy Fury is dramatic. So most likely Tommy Fury is going to land 3 clean punches in a sequence like this, whereas Joe Fournier barely couldn't land any, right? And we see KSI have to use so much energy to get off the line after he throws that right hand. All right, so here I want you guys to kind of get an understanding of how fast Tommy Fury can make it back to the line after a right hand to the body's been thrown at him, right? So we're going to see Jake Paul throw a right hand to the body. Now look here. Jake Paul's going to put his hands up. So this is already a better position than what KSI usually finds himself in. KSI usually throws a right hand to the body. His hands are low. He's trying to pull it back up, right? But we see Tommy Fury is quickly coming back to the line. And while he doesn't land any punches, and this does end up being a clinch, I believe, we see that he makes it back to the line extremely fast. You see Jake Paul throw that right hand. Tommy Fury's already coming back to try and interact with Jake Paul. And this is something that KSI has never really experienced before in terms of the opponents he's fought in the ring. No opponent he's fought ever before has come back to the line as fast as this trying to throw counter punches. Most of his opponents are running away or they're not in position to interact with him. But Tommy Fury is showing that he can stay in his boxing stance even after seeing a hard punch, because Jake Paul is a pretty hard puncher. And even with the hard shots that he landed on Tommy Fury would still just come back with punches, right? Now, Tommy Fury is a pretty big guy as well, so it will be pretty hard to knock him out from KSI's point of view. But with that being said, KSI does hit harder than Jake Paul, but I don't believe it's that wide of a margin to where it's going to have a great effect on Tommy Fury. We saw the big punches that Jake Paul landed on Tommy Fury, and Tommy was fine. Unless KSI can hit Tommy with one of those shots he hit face temper with, right? With the karate style. If he can't hit Tommy Fury with that, he's not going to knock Tommy Fury out. I just don't believe so. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a way that KSI can knock him out. I don't believe there is a way that he can do it without setting the shot up, right? Because KSI likes to get on the line with punches, similar to Jake Paul right here, trying to get on the line with a punch instead of a feint or a probe. That's why KSI is going to struggle against Tommy Fury. I believe so. All right, so what are some adjustments or things that KSI can do differently that will allow him to win this fight against Tommy Fury? Well, let's take a look here, okay? We're going to see KSI. He's going to take a step onto the line with the jab, okay? And he hits Joe Fournier clean with the jab. It's a pretty decent one. The only problem is look at where his head is. Look at where he's looking. He's looking at the ground right now. He's not even looking at Joe Fournier's face right now. He's not focused on the line. He's not defending this punch properly. If Joe Fournier just threw a right hand over top, KSI is eating that shot. KSI is not in position to defend himself after he throws this punch. If he wants to throw this jab out here, he needs to keep his eyes on Joe Fournier's face. He needs to keep his eyes on the target if he wants any chance against Tommy Fury. Because I can tell you this, every time Tommy Fury throws a jab, no matter if he gets hit or not by KSI, his eyes are always going to be on KSI's face. He's always going to be focused on the line, which is going to allow him to continuously follow up on punches and not have to get stuck in a position like this. Now we're going to see immediately after this, KSI is going to try and throw a jab. And look, he's still looking more towards the ground, right? His head's up a bit more from what it was last time, but he's still looking at the ground. And this time, Joe Fournier is going to make him pay with that right hand over top. Right? He's going to come back and hit KSI, and KSI is still looking at the ground here. He hasn't even looked. And now he finally turns his eyes towards Joe Fournier's face after he's already been hit with the punch. Okay? And I just want to show you guys that one more time. Okay? He's going to take a step with the jab, and he already got countered with the jab before the right hand too. So he's already in a bad position to begin with. But this is the thing. As long as KSI can't keep his eyes on the target, he's not going to know what punch is going to hit him and where the punch is coming from. And it's going to make it much easier for Tommy Fury to land those punches, right? Because Jake Paul's defense, even though I don't believe it's that great as well, he at least puts his hands up. Even though he's looking at the ground like KSI, he at least defends his line somewhat when Tommy Fury's following him back. KSI, he's not really doing that here. Let's look at it again. He's putting his head down. Where's his hands at? Right? He's not putting them back up until he's already got hit by the punch. This defense right here could possibly get him knocked down, like I said earlier, if he's just looking at the ground and not focusing on his opponent. Okay? So if KSI wants any chance of bridging the gap between his and Tommy Fury's speed and athleticism and just boxing ability in general, he's going to have to keep his eyes locked. Right? I've said it multiple times. So this is probably the most important, and I guess I can say the thing that will make KSI have the best chance against Tommy Fury is his ability to throw a really hard punch off of his opponent's jab. The only problem is that KSI doesn't do this enough, right? So we're going to see here, we're going to see Joe Fournier try and step on the line with the jab, and KSI is kind of countering his jab a bit. But what KSI really wants to do is come over top with that big right hand, okay? And now there's two problems with this right hand, or one main problem, right? So Joe Fournier has already got clocked by this right hand, but remember how I said earlier that KSI is the type of fighter that wants to throw one or two big punches and then get off the line? Look at this right here. He's looking at Joe Fournier, but not following up on his punch, right? He could jab Joe Fournier in the face right here and then throw another right hand. Joe Fournier is out of position. He's in no position to defend himself right here. But KSI instead just puts his right hand up, and it kind of, you can kind of get a feel that he's done with the sequence, right? He's going to do it again. Let's see it here. Right hand. And he's like, I'm done with the sequence. He's just coming back up, right? He's not trying to continuously box on the line with Joe Fournier. And this is why I believe Tommy Fury is going to have more output than him, because KSI doesn't like to output like that. But with that being said, if he can land a punch like this over Tommy Fury, which I think is possible because Tommy Fury's head movement is lacking. It's about the same as Joe Fournier's, which is why Joe Fournier got hit as well. I just think that Tommy Fury is much bigger than Joe Fournier and also has a better chin than Joe Fournier, so it's going to be harder to knock out Tommy Fury. Not only that, but KSI didn't even knock out Joe Fournier, really. It was an elbow shot, so he didn't knock him out with his right hand, right, or right overhand. He just hurt Joe Fournier right here, but then came back and knocked him out with an elbow. So with that being said, will KSI have enough power to knock out Tommy Fury? Well, if he can only land one shot in a sequence like this and doesn't follow up, I don't believe he can. But if he can keep the pressure going, and if he can keep landing right hand after right hand and maybe a left hook, then I think he does have a possibility of knocking out Tommy Fury. But the chance of KSI following up, like I said earlier, is very slim, right? He's not that type of fighter. He doesn't usually like to do that. And even when he knocked out FaZe Temper, it was a right hand and then a left hook. It was a 2-punch sequence, and it didn't even look like KSI was ready to follow up after that, right? It just looked like he wanted to throw those 2 punches and hope that they landed, and they did. Right? And I'm not saying that KSI's accuracy is terrible. He obviously has good accuracy to get knockouts. But with that being said, he doesn't follow up. And that's very important. All right, so here we're kind of going to get a feel for how KSI likes to defend himself in longer types of sequences, right? Tommy Fury has sequences. So we're going to see here KSI takes a step on the line with a jab. And Joe Fournier is kind of going to follow him up, right? This is, I believe, the only time that Joe Fournier tried to continue the sequence. But Joe Fournier isn't really trying to throw a jab. He isn't trying to throw punches. It looks like more of him trying to clinch KSI, right? But KSI sees it. He sees Joe Fournier's head. He's going to try and throw a right hand. But he throws it so poorly that he puts himself off balance and he can't even see Joe Fournier right now, right? So if he does this against Tommy Fury, he might get knocked down for doing this, okay? His back is turned and now he's going to turn around and look where his chin is in the air, right? His hands are barely defending his face and he actually gets hit by a punch by Joe Fournier and almost loses balance off of that punch, right? His defense isn't really that great when he's getting followed back. And the difference between Tommy Fury and Joe Fournier in the sequence is that Tommy Fury is going to be throwing punches right here. He's not going to be trying to clinch with KSI. And KSI is coming back. You can see his hands are down as he's trying to get off the line after the jab. Yeah, he tries to follow up with this right hand, but even this right hand right here is terrible, right? He's looking backwards now after he threw that right hand. That's how terrible it was. And now he has to get back into position. He's getting hit. If he does this against Tommy Fury, there's a high chance that he'll get knocked down. Okay? This defense is terrible. I hope KSI doesn't do this in the fight. I really hope not. So here we're going to take a look at a knockdown that Tommy Fury got. And while I believe that KSI is much tougher, much quicker and faster than this guy Tommy Fury's gone against, I do believe that if Tommy Fury lands enough punches on KSI the same way he did on this guy, that KSI could have the same fate of getting knocked down. Now here we're going to see the guys taking a step back off the line. Tommy Fury's following him back. 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. Right? He's following him back. And then he throws a right hand and sends the guy down. Now, but do I believe KSI is going to get knocked down from a shot like that? Probably not. Probably not, right? But what's really important here is that the guy that's backing up right here against Tommy Fury, he actually has his hands glued to his face. Does KSI do this? No. KSI does not do this. When he's backing up, his hands are going to be below him. And the only reason Tommy Fury hit him in the body right there is because his hands were glued to his face, right? He was taking away all the free targets that Tommy Fury had on his face for the most part. Tommy Fury could have landed an uppercut right there, but he just said, fuck it, I'm going to go towards the body. But with that being said, KSI does not keep his hands glued up like this. He's going to get hit with more punches than this guy got hit with in this sequence if he does this. And you can see that guy even tries to counter with the left hook, and he gets hit over top with a right hand from Tommy Fury and goes down. And like I said, I don't believe KSI is going to go down from that, but he's going to take much more punishment, which is going to make it much easier for Tommy Fury to win on points, right? So here we're going to be taking a look at another bum that Tommy Fury went against, right? Like I said earlier, I believe KSI is better than every opponent Tommy Fury's faced, including Jake Paul. But in terms of the trash bags that Tommy Fury's gone against, KSI is dramatically better than these people. But we're going to see here that Tommy Fury is following up on this guy, and this guy has his hands down, right? This is very KSI-esque. He's trying to land punches, and now we're going to take a look at another clip. He's going to throw an uppercut now. Now, will it be easy for him to land his punch on KSI? Probably not. I don't think KSI is going to get hit by that. But KSI being out of position like this is something I can definitely see happen. Not him looking all the way at the ground like this, but him having his hands down while going backwards, right? And Tommy Fury is going to send a guy down for that. Now, I've said this many times that I don't believe KSI is going to go down, but he's going to get hit with these punches, no doubt. If he defends himself like he does in all of his other fights. KSI's defense would have had to dramatically change, right? He would have to step off the line with his hands in relation to Tommy Fury's hands, which means that most of the time he has to keep his hands to the front of his face, right? To take away the jab and the straights. Because Tommy Fury's main source of offense is the ones and the twos, right? He loves those straight punches. He throws looping punches sometimes. He throws hooks sometimes. But most of the time, he's going to be trying to throw punches in front of your face, right? Blinding punches, punches to do damage. And KSI is going to have to be ready for that. If he doesn't guard the front of his face or guard his face at all, then Tommy Fury is going to just hit him with these punches right here. There's no way KSI can escape this fate. And honestly, if Tommy Fury can land enough punches in a row, he probably can stop KSI and get a TKO stoppage. Do I believe that'll happen? No. I don't think he's going to be able to land that often enough to where he could really rattle KSI to make him get stopped. But I can see maybe one knockdown. I can't see that happening. But yeah, for the most part, I think that Tommy Fury has a pretty big advantage when it comes to being able to box and land points. Is he a harder puncher than KSI? God, no. Right? Is he faster than KSI? In some aspects. He has faster hands, in my opinion, than KSI. Doesn't have faster feet than KSI. But just his ability to throw punches in bunches is going to trouble KSI just like it did Jake Paul. Right? Like I said earlier, Jake Paul is a very hard puncher, but he couldn't knock out Tommy Fury. He could only knock him down once. And Jake Paul is someone who's waiting for the counter, right? He's planting his feet on the ground, waiting for the counter. KSI doesn't do that. KSI is the one who's trying to exhort the offense onto you. He's trying to throw the 1 or 2 punches onto you. But when he sees that you're trying to throw punches onto him, he's either going to just try to get back off the line to where he can't get hit, or he might just try and shell up. Those are probably the 2 most common things that KSI is going to do if he sees you're trying to throw a punch at him. Very, very unlikely is it that he's going to try and throw a right hand counter over the top, even though we saw him do it to Joe Fournier, right? Which was the last punch before the fight ended with the elbow. Even with that being said, that was the only time KSI countered Joe Fournier's punch, right? That he saw that was coming out. Okay. And as far as my final predictions go, I see Tommy Fury winning on points if KSI, for one, struggles to get on the line with him with those right hands, because like I said earlier, that's going to be KSI's most common source of offense, the right hand to the body. And if he can't land that punch on Tommy Fury, which I still believe he's going to get followed up for, right? It's not like the KSI landing that right hand to the body is going to give him the upper hand. If he throws that right hand to the body, Tommy Fury is going to throw about 3 follow-up punches off of that. So he's still going to get outpunted in that aspect. But there's a high likelihood that Tommy Fury is not even going to let KSI land that right hand to begin with. He's just going to take steps off the line and make it harder for KSI to throw that right hand. And with that being said, the more that Tommy Fury makes it harder for KSI to get on the line with him, the more KSI is going to have to open himself up to land these punches that he wants to do. And that's going to make Tommy Fury more easily able to land counters and land cleaner punches on KSI. Possibly to where he could knock him down if KSI is overexposed enough. It's not like KSI has a pretty tight defense to begin with, but it's just going to only exacerbate the problem if KSI can't get on the line with Tommy Fury. And I think that's a very high likelihood of happening, right? We saw how hard it was for Jake Paul to get on the line with Tommy Fury with those right hands, right? Jake Paul will have to wait for Tommy Fury to come onto the line with a jab to counter him with his left hooks. He couldn't just throw a right hand and get Tommy Fury to stand still. And I believe it's going to be the same thing for KSI. Especially if KSI can't gain Tommy Fury's respect either. If he can't hit Tommy Fury with a hard enough shot early, I think that Tommy Fury is just going to build up confidence and keep throwing those punches and bunches up until he wins on points. Right? KSI's only chance, in my opinion, is to try and kind of use that karate style back and forth motion that he did against FaZe Temper, step on and off the line, and then explode into the line with a right hand into a left hook. Because he actually has a decent chance of landing that, considering that Tommy Fury doesn't move his head just like FaZe Temper, right? But Tommy Fury is obviously much faster, and he actually takes steps off the line, as FaZe Temper doesn't. FaZe Temper crosses his feet when he's leaving the line. Doesn't defend himself properly. So overall, I think that this is a very tough matchup for KSI. And I'm not just saying that because Tommy Fury beat Jake Paul and because all these casuals just think that Tommy Fury is a real boxer. I think that Tommy Fury is an average boxer. He's not even that great, right? His head movement is lacking. The only things that are good about him is his fast hand speed and decent footwork and ability to step on and off the line, right? And punches and bunches. Those are the things that make him who he is. And for KSI, it's straight up his speed, athleticism, and power. That's what defines him. And if his speed and athleticism isn't fast enough to get on the line with Tommy Fury, then it's going to be hard for him to land those power punches. So I see Tommy Fury winning by points. I mean, I guess I'll go over some of the media boxing footage whenever the fight gets close, so we can see if KSI has made any improvements. But if he fights the way that he fought Joe Fournier and before Joe Fournier all the way up till then I believe he's going to have not really any shot against Tommy Fury beating him. But yeah, that's just my prediction for now. Maybe he'll do something completely different. Who knows? Right? But as of now, I don't think KSI has a real shot of beating Tommy Fury without landing a hard punch. But yeah, with that being said, I'll be doing more breakdowns later on down the line. Let me know what type of content you guys want to see more. Without further ado, peace out, guys.